This week's devotional is Making Disciples, the Great Commission, April 28th, 2025. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. Romans 10:14-15. What do Tim Tebow, Stephen Curry, and Angelina Jolie all have in common? If you guessed celebrities, you are correct. But their connection runs deeper than just their fans and fame. They are all deeply committed to using their platforms for good and affecting change for the better. Tim Tebow focuses his efforts on human trafficking, while Stephen Curry works towards providing quality education, food, and safe places to play. They recognize evil and oppression in the world, envision a better future for the benefit of all, and encourage others to do the same through their organizations and platforms. There is a clear conviction on the topic, and they inspire others to actively participate. They possess first-hand knowledge and experience in their areas of interest and want to see others passionate about significant issues. Their platforms enable them to become advocates and authorities on various matters. Through their stories and convictions, they seek to share hope with others, provide ways to participate, and motivate others to teach, serve, and send. Take Angelina Jolie, for example. While filming the blockbuster hit Lara Croft Tomb Raider, she was profoundly affected by what she witnessed in Cambodia. The country was poverty-stricken and recovering from genocide and oppression. She contacted the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and in her first year with the UNHCR, visited refugee camps, soon donating $1 million to aid refugee efforts and becoming a goodwill ambassador. While these efforts are good and noble and true, they don't address the root cause of evil in the world: sin. They help with the symptoms, but not the underlying issue. These are noble efforts and commissions, but an even greater commission addresses both the symptoms and the root of all problems in a fallen world. After his resurrection, Jesus gives the Great Commission to the disciples to go, make disciples, baptize, and teach them to obey all that Jesus has commanded. Matthew 28:16-20. Through the Great Commission, we see Jesus' authority, charge, and the assurance that he will be with us until he returns. Throughout the Gospel of Matthew, we encounter various responses to the person and work of Jesus. While some embrace him, worship him, and call him Lord, others desire to see him killed and silenced. Even at the beginning of Matthew, the wise men worship and bring gifts, while King Herod wants him dead. Now, at the end of the Gospel, the story is no different. The chief priests and elders bribed the soldiers to suppress the good news, but Jesus commissioned his disciples to share it. The religious leaders of the day gave the great omission, while Jesus gave the great commission. Just as death was defeated, so too will lies and deception be thwarted. It's important to note that although the passage indicates some disciples worshipped and some doubted, this doubt differs from what we typically think of today. They did not reject Jesus as the resurrected Christ. A better translation of doubt could be hesitated. Just like the women who were both afraid and worshipped with joy, the disciples had recently experienced a challenging situation. Their Lord was captured, betrayed, tortured, killed, and now resurrected. We have all found ourselves in situations where various emotions were deeply felt simultaneously: fear and joy, anxiety and peace, sadness and celebration. At the heart of these emotions was the worship of the risen Lord. The main goal in the Great Commission and through all of our emotions is to worship Jesus Christ. After the resurrection, Jesus meets the 11 disciples, the 12 minus Judas Iscariot, on the mountain to which he had directed them. Mountains hold great significance throughout the Bible, particularly in Exodus and Matthew. Moses received the law and the 10 Commandments and spent 40 days and nights communing with God. On mountains, Jesus taught the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5-7, was transfigured displaying his divine glory, Matthew 17, and gave the Great Commission, Matthew 28. The mountain is a place where divine glory is displayed, and a place for communion with God, the revelation of himself, and the teaching of his commands. The Great Commission encompasses all of these aspects. First, Jesus' divinity is displayed. He teaches the disciples that all authority on earth and heaven has been given to him. Second, he communes with the disciples as he dwells among them and promises he will be with them until his return. Lastly, Jesus teaches them about their mission and commissions them to go, make disciples, baptize, and teach them to obey everything that he has commanded. At the core of Christianity, we are called to make disciples. Jesus gives us the command and what we are to do, while also providing us with the peace that he will be with us through it all. Throughout the Gospel of Matthew, we have seen Jesus' power and authority in both his teachings and his miracles. He has also demonstrated throughout his ministry the calling of disciples, the equipping of disciples, and now the commissioning of disciples. The Great Commission combines these elements, where the authority has been given to Jesus, and now the disciples are called to teach all that Jesus had taught them. Notice it's not what Jesus taught or the same ideals or principles, but teaching them exactly what he has commanded. Let's consider a few key points about the Great Commission as disciples of Jesus today. First, we are called to teach others about the gospel. Although international missions are important, they are not the only context in which we are called to proclaim the good news. In every context, our families, workplaces, neighborhoods, sports clubs, we are called to share about Jesus. In the Great Commission, we don't just stop at proclaiming the gospel. There are discipleship steps that follow. To be a disciple of Jesus, there is more than just an initial profession of faith. There are steps of obedience and an active path where we grow in Jesus daily. Next, we are called to be baptized. Once a person becomes a follower of Jesus, he commands us to be baptized. Just like a wedding ring is a sign and symbol of marriage, baptism is a sign and symbol of being a follower of Jesus. It is a step of obedience in your faith as you enter into the new covenant community. Lastly, being a disciple of Jesus doesn't stop at sharing the good news or being baptized. We're also called to teach others about faithful obedience to Jesus' teachings. Teaching involves a lifelong study of God's Word and growth in your obedience and faith. An important aspect of the Great Commission in being a disciple isn't merely the initial profession of faith or the sign of that, but rather a commitment to Jesus' teaching throughout our entire lives. These things seem easy to do on their own, simple tasks. They're also impossible for us to do on our own. That is why Jesus gives us the gift of His Spirit and promises to be with us to the end of the age. It is only by His power and His strength are we able to have faith and be faithful. Are you a follower of Jesus? If so, are you actively participating in the Great Commission? If you have professed faith in Jesus, you are called to share the gospel, get baptized, regularly study God's Word, and submit to His reign in your life as King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and the one to whom all authority and power has been given. If you have doubts about what to do, Jesus has given us the Great Commission. If you fear being obedient as disciples, He offers us comfort in knowing that He will be with us. All we need to do is remain faithful to the Great Commission and trust that Jesus provides us with His presence and peace to fulfill it.